I hate them.
Straight up, I don't give a shit about your dog.
I really want to understand the perspective of someone who likes fireworks.
This is my fucked up dog.
Agnes is a fucked up dog. Jolie Andrew are her parents, and they talk about using force-free training methods and how what they learned about dog behavior can make you a better patient person. And also it's recorded from Agnes's favorite place, the car.
I'm Andrew, the bad boy of positive reinforcement dog training YouTube discourse.
I'm Jolie, and I'm the bad boy of positive reinforcement training discourse. That's Agnes. Hi, Agnes.
Today we'll explore the cultural considerations of fireworks, how they affect dogs, how they affect wildlife.
We have some really good conversations coming up with some people who love fireworks. We're going to get their take. We're also going to talk to my Canadian dog trainer, Cailin, and she's going to give us some tips for dealing with fireworks events.
Good shake.
Good positive reinforcement. For anyone new here, 4 years ago, we adopted a very broken dog. She is now slightly less broken, and we are slightly more broken.
Significantly more broken.
Andrew, why did you want to do a fireworks episode?
Agnes is particularly sensitive to fireworks. I am particularly sensitive to fireworks, and I just kind of don't understand the appeal, so I wanted to dig into it and see why are you doing this awful thing to me? One of my favorite things to do is lurk on Nextdoor, and
one of my favorite things to do is post incredibly racist things.
Yeah, that's really the only way I can find out how horrible she is. Something that has been a recurring thing lately is scolding people for using fireworks, and then people in the comments getting pretty defensive about it. So one of my favorite recent posts, anyone else extremely bothered by the lawlessness with which people who light illegal fireworks get away with it? Other than driving around the neighborhood and geolocating each group setting them off, then reporting them online to the LAPD, is there an easier way to capture the specific locations before reporting them? Anyone interested in sharing locations so that multiple neighbors can report specific locations to the LAPD? I'm tired of the chaos. Yeah, it sounds like a job for Batman, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's so silly because on one hand, we both hate fireworks. On the other hand...
we hear how it sounds.
Yeah. And also, we don't think that it can be solved with more cops.
Oh, I do think vigilante justice is actually the answer, probably.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk to a pro-fireworks person, my drunk friend Scott at Highland Park TV.
You couldn't find any sober friends?
No.
There's nothing more American than fireworks, except for maybe like Toshiba TV.
What is it about fireworks that you like?
I like that they're dangerous. I like that they can come out of nowhere and blow up, blow down, blow side, blow right. I like that they're a symbol of a celebration.
You like the ethos. How do fireworks differ from like confetti?
Well, confetti's less Chinese.
Like in terms of like how it makes you feel.
Confetti makes me feel soft. Fireworks make me feel hard.
Like it's a feeling of toughness.
It's like a soft and hard feeling, yeah. It makes me feel like an American.
Does it actually?
Yeah, because there's nothing more American than fireworks, except for maybe like a Toshiba TV.
Okay. I'm someone who finds fireworks frustrating. What do you say to that?
I would say that you're not willing to release.
Elaborate.
They represent a release of frustration, anger, excitement. And if you don't like it, then you probably want to stay confined into your fire department. But if you were like to go above your fire department, then you could truly experience something that is above firefighters and an explosion of freedom.
You're dripping.
Agnes, lick.
Can you stop hitting on my dog?
I'm not. That's not a hit on. That's hitting off.
Let me tell you a little bit why I don't like them. They're really dangerous, especially in a place like California.
Where there's no rules.
Where it's very dry. I feel like fireworks could cause a lot of destruction. So do you think it's worth it?
Yeah, I think it is worth the destruction because one person's hand is worth 10 people's excitement.
Elaborate?
Because, one person could blow their hand off with a firework, still go into the air and cause an explosion for like 10, 15, 20, 35 people, and everyone has a smile, but one person's suffering. I think it's worth it for one person to suffer for tens of millions to enjoy.
In 5th grade, this kid Zach Bono got
Zach Boner.
his name unfortunately was Zach Bono. He got his thumb blown off by a firework that his dad brought home from a business trip. The rumor was they had to put his toe on his hand as his thumb. Do you think that was a real thing, or do you think it was just a rumor?
I think that was a rumor. I think they sewed his thumb back onto his hand. I'm just glad his dick didn't get blown off, because then they would have had to sewn his toe onto his dick.
Yeah, they would have had to.
Well, yeah, if someone's going to get blown up a little bit, it's okay. And if there's a fire forest, then it's okay because they can contain it. Our firefighters have been never more experienced with these situations. And they can handle it, especially in California. We're talking California. If this was a Seattle fireworks show, fuck them.
Okay, so there's that aspect. And then, of course, the reason we're here, one of the reasons I hate fireworks is because my dog hates fireworks. And there's a lot of dogs that...
Well, yeah, see, I see a lot of owners in California, and they're talking about their dogs being afraid of fireworks. Well, we've been doing fireworks in California since the dawn of Mexico. And even before that, since the Tonga people. And even before that, since the Chinese people. And it's pretty unfair for these dogs to move in and tell these Chinese people in California to stop doing fireworks. It's pretty fucked, to be honest, And I think that we should respect the ways of the land and respect the ways of the people who lived here eons before us. If a dog wants to move to Southern California and be scared about fireworks, maybe the dog shouldn't have moved here in the first place.
As long as there have been fireworks, we've had dogs.
Man's oldest best friend. Second best friend to man was fireworks.
So the thing is...
If you move into a neighborhood and tell someone to change the way they've been doing things for years upon years, maybe you're the problem.
What if the thing
But
we're
what?
doing
Causes damage to the person moving in?
causes damage to the environment as a whole? It's hard, right? Because it's like, is it worth like the joy that it gives you
To cause suffering to someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you'd have to measure on a scale. If the suffering is to a 8, if the enjoyment is to a 9, then you should prioritize the enjoyment.
I have this thing that I've thought about since I was a little kid, and it's called roller coaster theory.
I'm listening.
Let's imagine a perfect control situation where there's two people and they go to a theme park. They have to stay together. They have to choose the same thing. And one wants to go on a roller coaster and the other doesn't. My theory was always you shouldn't go on the roller coaster because the suffering it would cause the person to get on the roller coaster outweighs the joy that it would give the person.
But what if they got over it after they finally did it?
What if they know?
Yeah, what if they know? Well, they shouldn't get on.
But what if they have to stay together? They shouldn't get on.
They have to stay. Yeah, they should. If they have to stay together, they shouldn't get on. But if they can
Right.
compromise and separate, then one should enjoy and the other should not.
So that's the problem though with fireworks is one person's joy, unfortunately, you can't
Causes another's
cause-
pain.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be together.
How do we separate them? Do you think we should have
In half.
one state that allows fireworks?
That sounds good. If it's California that allows fireworks and the rest of the country that doesn't, then that sounds good to me.
I feel like this is the wrong place. Like it shouldn't be it should not be a very
You're saying
dry
that the
place.
people that have been doing it traditions for eons should adapt to the people who come in and change for their...
Can you just look Agnes in the eyes and tell her that your joy is greater than her suffering?
Agnes, my joy is greater than your suffering.
I'm sorry, baby. I'm trying to make the world a better place for you.
Sometimes amoebas die, and sometimes predators win. Be the predator. I'm glad we can come to a agreement.
Thank you, Scott, for the disgusting insight.
Even though Scott was probably a little too drunk and a little too horny for my dog.
He raises some really confusing points.
Some confusing points, but a couple of good ones. Andrew, give us some ballpark estimates on the injury rates.
Yeah, from what I could see, it's about 10,000 injuries per year, and roughly, I mean, I'm not a mathematician or a statistician, but like 10 fatalities, it seems like. If you want the exact figures, you can check the Consumer Product Safety Commission. A lot of fireworks injuries do happen to children.
Is it child-on-child crime, or is it like adults?
I think it's a good mix.
Forest fires, anything on that?
Oh yeah, they start them. Fireworks started an estimated 19,500 fires in 2018.
Also, apparently the fireworks thing has gotten worse in recent years.
Well, that's interesting because everything has.
What is your take about what he was saying regarding moving in and trying to change people's cultures?
Well, let me preface this by saying that his take is the right take. So it is, I guess, like a hot take that you can leave the parts of culture that aren't serving your community. Okay, to put it in terms of like my culture, where I come from, it's taking a Ford 350, F350 to the Kroger and just buying like a case of Dasani waters to bring to a counter protest. And I reject that, but that doesn't mean I reject the culture entirely. I still believe there are good things in that lifestyle, that way of living.
Yeah, like what?
Like never being too old to practice karate on your front lawn, doing cocaine in a megachurch bathroom, mourning baseball players who die doing water sports. I keep those parts of the culture. And if I ever move back, the first thing I'm doing, I'm buying two things. I'm buying a casket and I'm buying the jet ski that's going to put me in there. Go Dogs.
Is the baseball thing a thing that really happens?
I mean, maybe a little bit. It seems to be a common thing at my high school. But, if it sounds insensitive, I'd consider it a blessing that they died before they had to get the COVID vaccine.
Or didn't, you mean?
Yeah, but they died before they had to refuse to get the COVID vaccine. So they're safely in heaven.
But yeah, this is where I have a hard time because there's certain things in certain cultures where like, is it worth saving? And we actually talk a lot about this in a really incredible interview I did with my friend Jaime Chialastri. So
yeah, you talk about it in like a grown-up way.
In a grown-up way. So yeah, let's jump into that interview. It's such a good combo. Let's see what they have to say about it. What I'll say is no bad dogs, only bad dog owners, which I'm sure
I think
you know.
that's true. No, I
Yeah.
think that's true. I think like there's a lot of entitlement with dog owners. I'm Jaime Chialastri. I'm a comedian based in Philadelphia / Jolie's friend. I'm a cat person, a dog skeptic, and a fireworks aficionado.
Are you actually a fireworks aficionado?
I don't know. I just like fireworks a lot, and I wanted a third word.
What do you know about fireworks beyond just your enjoyment?
I know I like them. I know they're pretty. I know that they can knock your hand off if you get too close to them. I think they were invented in China. And something about gunpowder.
I want to address what you said about you think they can knock your hand off, because I had this memory come flooding back to me yesterday about this guy who had his hand, or he had his thumb blown off by a firework that his like dad brought home from a business trip. The rumor was they took one of his toes and put it on his hand to be his thumb.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. That was just
Those
what everyone else.
I think just that was some kid getting bullied, and now we brought it back up on a podcast 20 years later.
I think it might be, yeah. But, here I was, though, like, I never questioned it back then. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. They probably took his thumb and made it his thumb.
Because, like, maybe my feet are fucked up, but those appendages aren't the same size.
They're not the same. You like fireworks.
I love
what?
fireworks.
You love fireworks. Talk to me about
fireworks.
that. What about fireworks?
You ever seen Happily Ever After at Disneyland?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't love fireworks?
I don't remember being, like, particularly moved by that.
I cried last time I saw that.
Fireworks do look like magic, huh?
They do look like magic. There's something like very exciting about them to me. I grew up on the Jersey Shore. So there's like a big culture of fireworks. I'm just like very used to them happening all the time. And like, it's like an event that kind of brings me comfort.
It's funny you say like it brings you comfort, because like when I think of fireworks, I think of discomfort. I think of loud sounds. I find them to be like more negative than they are positive because they affect so many people. But Disney's an interesting case because it's kind of secluded. Like no one else is like affected by the fireworks at Disney, huh?
Yes. And that's also another thing is that I think Disney and also the Jersey Shore fireworks that we talked about have in common is that they're super scheduled and regulated. So even if they do affect you and you live on the Jersey Shore, you can prepare.
My like number one other memory of fireworks growing up, being from South Jersey, you go to like the town fireworks, and you're making out with a boy, and you're like, oh, we're getting hot and heavy, and then your principal of your school is just like right there.
Yeah, I see how that would put you off the fireworks.
The other thing that is always really disconcerting to me about fireworks in the city is like they kind of sound like gunshots.
Fireworks echo, gunshots don't.
But to me, it's like very jarring to the system. How do you feel about people who would just have them randomly?
I think it's overall neutral, especially living in a city. I think there's so much just loud, random noise.
From where I sit, it always seems to me like they do more harm than they cause joy for people. What's your take on the dog thing?
Straight up, I don't give a shit about your dog.
You can look Agnes right in the face and tell her you don't care about her.
I don't give a shit about your dog.
Even, okay, as someone...
Live in a quieter place. I don't know what to tell you.
Nowhere is quiet. If you want to live in a city, nowhere is quiet.
I don't think that's true.
Well, it depends. When you are poor and you live in a city, you don't have the luxury of finding an area that's quiet. Here's something I would like to bring you. So you don't give a shit about my dog. That's fine. That's okay. But Jaime, as someone who has recently lost a cat, Jamie's cat ran away recently. So if you're in the Philadelphia area and you're watching this, look out for their cat. One of the issues with fireworks, and it's like a big safety thing, you get a lot of runaway dogs. What do you say to those dogs and those dog owners as someone experiencing a lost cat?
So I think when I say I don't give a shit about your dog, I just mean I don't give a shit about taking care of your dog emotionally during the firework. Like, that's not my job. That's your job in that situation, and something I could have done better. Learn from my mistake. Make sure your dog is secure during fireworks. Like, what can you do? There's like plenty of ways that like you as a responsible dog owner can like prepare and like be ready for these situations. And I think there's always like room for nuance in these things, right? Like, you have an incredibly anxious dog. If I like went and started shooting off Roman candles in your backyard specifically, that would be like a hugely dick move.
My neighborhood's an interesting case. We live in a very Latina neighborhood. You know, we are gentrifiers here, right? Like, we are the white people that moved in, and fireworks are a huge part of celebrations. And it's not just 4th of July, it's any holiday that could potentially. And so we have a lot of fireworks. It's this very complicated thing, I have mixed feelings on, because they have dogs who aren't happy about it. It's not like only white people's dogs are scared of fireworks. You know what I mean?
It's not, but I have noticed a trend that it's only white people that expect the rest of the world to cater to their dog.
I think you're right. I do think, sort of like what you were saying, you tend to be a little bit more demanding, a little bit more needy. That said, it's really complicated when it comes to dogs. A lot of our neighbors leave their dogs out all day. They'll leave the dogs out in the hot sun, and we have a lot of coyotes. It's not unusual for dogs to get got by coyotes. And so it's really hard, because what is changing someone's culture out of selfishness versus what is changing someone's culture out of respecting other species? Because it's not just dogs. It affects birds. It creates pollution. It creates, like, you know what I mean? So what is a cultural norm worth if it negatively affects a lot of other living creatures? And then the other thing I'll say before I have you respond, our neighbors two doors down, who I've like since kind of I've made it a point to really get to know, or like at least like say hi to, you know what I mean? Last year we were outside, and Agnes, like, when she hears a firework, she really can't handle it. And a lot of and like you said, like, she's a very special case. Like, we haven't found the right situational drugs for her to like calm her down. You know, there's not a ton we can do other than leave, which we are going to do this year. But like, I remember being outside, and she was about to pee, and we're like, we knew it was about to get crazy. It's 4th of July Eve. And down the street, they set off a firework, and it sucked because they saw we were out in the yard, like they could see us. And so like, I went over there. I was like so calm. I was like, do not be a white lady. Like, just be like as calm as you can. I was like, hey.
Trying not to be Cailin Darrow over there.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be Cailin Darrow. I was just like, hey, I live right there. I don't think we've met. You guys are going to do what you're going to do. It's fine. I just asked if you see us out in the yard with her, not to set them off. And like,
Right.
it was very hard because they got really defensive. And it's like, it's very hard to like talk to someone about something they're doing without getting defensive. Like I do it too, right? Even if
Mhm.
like I reflect later, but it was this really interesting moment of like, I don't know how to express to them, like, that's a really scared dog. I don't want to like fuck up your fun. They were like, it's 4th of July. Like they got really up in arms about it. And I was like, at what point? Because you're like, I don't give a shit about other people's dogs, but it's like, I know you. You're a very caring, kind person. So like, I feel like you do care about creatures, both human and non-human alike.
I do. And I feel like the thing that I'm hearing about like that story specifically, and it's not so much about like necessarily being pro fireworks or anti dog or pro dog, about thinking about building a sustainable community for everyone involved. And like making sure we're able to like have these conversations and knowing like, oh, I do have a neighbor that has an anxious and reactive dog to fireworks. Like, let's let her know before we're having a thing. Hey, I do have a neighbor that has PTSD. Let's like let him know. Let's talk about it. Let's consider going to a cousin's house. But I think like the issue isn't necessarily like just like dog good, firework bad, as much as it is how can we have a community that serves everything. Because also just quickly to respond to like, oh, fireworks make pollution. Yeah, they do. But like, I'm not going to complain about fireworks pollution when Taylor Swift is going from New York to Newark in a private jet 5 times a week.
Of
Like,
course.
I'm just not going to do that. I don't think
Right.
it makes enough pollution to matter.
This is a great point. I love what you're saying because the point of this project, the whole thing, is very much about empathy. Nothing's ever going to get worse from knowing your neighbor or knowing like being part of a community. And like, it's a lot easier, I think, to be empathetic back to someone if someone's already giving you empathy. So it's like, it's, it's stupid, but it's like to be the change you wish to see. But it really, it's like, it is much easier to like want to care if you feel like someone already cares.
Right, exactly. And I think it's like kind of more about, sometimes I see people specifically like talking about entitled dog parents expecting everyone around them to just change the behavior because of their dog. When I think it needs to be more of like a let's meet halfway and like let's also consider all of our animals to be part of our community. Like everything that happens in your community is not going to make you comfortable. And that is just something we all need to accept and be chill with. And like find ways to cope because some things are going to make you incredibly comfortable.
Yeah.
And like the things that bring you a lot of joy might bring someone else a lot of discomfort.
You might not have an opinion on because you're not here in California, but another reason I'm like, why are people doing this is because California is
Wildfires.
There's a lot of wildfires.
I also know we've mentioned a lot of South Jersey stuff, and growing up in South Jersey, fireworks are not legal. Or at least they were not when I was growing up.
They're not like to have personally, but the displays are legal.
The displays are, you have to be like a professional company and have permits and all of that nonsense. And it's because we're in the Pine Barrens. So that is a concern that I would share. Like, and I think that again comes back to like, this is a big shared planet Earth community that we are making, and like, don't put shit on fire in the parts that are flammable. That's just a bad idea.
100%. But I think it's the other side, like the anti-firework side's refusal to like meet in the middle, that probably makes a lot of the pro-fireworks people not want to give a shit. Like if we're not going to meet them halfway, the chance of them starting a forest fire is so low, why should they give a shit?
Right.
And so, yeah, I do think it as you're saying, it does come back to like, we should all care. And that is like my number one thing with all of this is like, we should just all care more about each other. We should about everyone and everything. And like, if we don't have these conversations or hear the other side, it's very hard not to be all like fucking capital D Democrat about it. We got to reach across the aisle.
Right. But no, it's just like, we just gotta coexist together. Like, we're just not gonna like everything that each other does, but like, we can find ways to be polite and chill about it.
Going back to what you're saying about like the sort of like the legal fireworks versus the illegal fireworks, it's like, I think you and I, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you and I are both pretty anti the legal system.
Yeah, I
as
don't
it
love the
is.
government.
Right. We're not so into the government.
No.
What would you say to someone who was like, well, we just need to regulate when and where the fireworks happen more?
It's like an argument. It's just, I think it's something that's so hard to regulate. Maybe you can restrict sales, but the thing about fireworks is that you light them and then they explode 10 seconds later. So it's
They are illegal to have personally for a reason. At least here they are. But like it doesn't stop anyone. And it also is like cops don't do anything about it because they also like fireworks. And personally, I think they use it as an excuse to be like, you wanted us to not do anything, so we're not going to do anything.
I do have some resentment about you dumping the cops on our side of the argument.
Do you think what do you think? You think cops don't like fireworks? I feel like cops.
Well, some of them have dogs.
Yeah, but they've got like mutant
Yeah.
dog. They have dogs that they beat on. They don't give a shit.
They have canine units. It's also, if you think about dogs, can be cops.
Can be cops, 100%.
Yeah.
But they don't know better. And again, that goes back to that's a bad owner.
It's actually a bad owner issue.
It's still the bad owner issue. It's still a good dog, but bad owner. Really bad owner. The worst owner you could possibly have.
I would like to leave the jury out on which side of the debate cops truly fall on.
Well, that's a good plug for if you have an opinion about if cops
About
like fireworks.
Like fireworks or dogs more.
Put it down in the comments section.
If you're a cop watching this, you have to tell us, and you have to tell us if you like fireworks or dogs.
Also, if you are watching this and you are planning on letting off some fireworks, be responsible and do it. Be nice. Just be kind.
Yep. Consider your neighbors. Stop any dogs that walk by your house all the time and be like, hey, we're going to be setting off some fireworks. Maybe put a sign up in front of your house that's like, hey, we're going to do some fireworks on July 4th.
I love that idea. Would it be crazy for me to go like door to door and be like, excuse me, here's a sign I made for you. If you plan on doing fireworks, could you put it out?
I think it might be a little crazy, but like in a good way. It's like very chaotic good.
Middle-aged childless man in the body void t-shirt is not a Disney person, but I have gone recently. You know, if there were pyrotechnic elements of it, they didn't leave an impression. What was cool was projecting stuff onto the mist and like drones. That's way more impressive to me than fireworks. Just like a bang explosion light. Comparing fireworks to like drone sky shows is like, it's like constellations. It's like, that shit's not a bear. Show me a bear. A bear in the sky would be a lot cooler than whatever that is. That's just dots. Fireworks are just dots in the sky with lines, and you're like, that's a Big Dipper. Drones, you can get the thing that you want to see in the sky.
That was such a good conversation. I want to know everyone's opinions on this. Please let me know if Jamie changed your opinion at all. I'm not sure if they changed my opinion, but I think they at least have opened up my mind to the appeal, or like at least the why I shouldn't be a dick about it.
Couldn't be me. And Jolie, you're kind of a bird head, you would say, yeah?
I love birds.
And we're not talking about the Roger McGuinn kind.
I like those birds too.
Okay.
8 miles high. I figured I would.
We're gonna get taken down for copyright.
8 miles high.
It's good because it's barely recognizable.
Parody. Why do you ask me?
Well, because did you know that fireworks affect birds?
I had a feeling. Yeah, I definitely had a feeling. You can't like put like smoke and explosions into the sky without it running into some things that are there.
Oh, right. Yeah. It can disrupt their migratory paths. The pollution of like leftover firecrackers and stuff can sometimes be consumed.
No.
And then on top of that, all the there's some evidence that all the like stress hormones can be passed on to their offspring. So fireworks cause generational trauma. Yeah, I mean, I don't like fireworks, and part of it I think is influenced by being a dog owner in the city, but part of it is just like I picture the great blue heron that like stands by the LA River And the thought of like scaring that off, of like affecting its offspring, I mean, it feels antisocial to me to be, it's very selfish, not considering the consequences of what this is actually doing. It is causing enormous distress to wildlife. Horses, birds, bunny rabbits, all the cutest fucking shit you can think of are the victims of this.
It's interesting because I don't think the majority of people like care that much about animals. And I'm not like pointing my finger and saying that, or like wagging my finger. I say it because I didn't really care about animals either until 4 years ago when I got Agnes. I've always had dogs, but like I thought of dogs as a completely different thing than animals, which sounds crazy. But like humans, dogs, birds, elephants, foxes, like we're all kind of the same thing. And when you start to really like notice animals and care about them, you start to realize how horrible treating the planet the way we do really is. And like this isn't me. I'm not like a bleeding heart environmentalist. I mean, obviously, like I like the planet and the environment, and I'm pro climate change. But to me, it's like it just feels like we're so detached from nature that we don't tend to give a shit.
Yeah, and you know, having a dog highlights the problem for me, but it you know, exists without having a dog. And you know, truly, fireworks affect dogs differently. It's got a different effect all across the anxiety spectrum. Some dogs with a lot of anxiety aren't fazed by fireworks at all, and some dogs who are otherwise perfectly, you know, chill, are really hate fireworks. I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, that's a perfect segue into our conversation with Cailin, our dog trainer, who's going to give a lot of tips for dealing with your dog's anxiety around fireworks or any loud noises, honestly. We talk about desensitization, we talk about situational medications, and we talk about what you can do to keep your animal safe. So let's jump into that.
Are there any tips for my anxiety?
No. What do you know about American July 4th?
Big party, fireworks, big boom, sound thing.
Yeah, this is pretty much, you got it. Hot dogs.
So many hot dogs. I'm Cailin. I'm a force-free dog trainer here in Victoria, BC. Preparing your dog for fireworks or any loud noises, sounds, we would want to work on desensitization. Working on desensitization with some dogs can work really quickly, and with other dogs, it might take you a long process of doing desensitization. So essentially what desensitization is in layman's terms, like getting your dog used to something, making it seem like nothing. Anytime we're desensitizing any kind of noise, whether it's fireworks or dogs barking, anything that would trigger your dog, my favorite way of doing this is pairing good things with the triggering thing or with the neutral thing. So playing YouTube videos of fireworks in a non-stressful time for your dog. So say we put a video of fireworks on YouTube on the TV. We're going to start with it at volume 1. Now, we're going to give our dog something good at this time as well. So whether that's a food stuffed Kong, or we're playing tug with them in the house, or maybe a bully stick or a chew, something that they really love, and playing it at volume 1, and we want to watch our dog's body language at this point. So if there's no reaction, we can increase the volume by another level. Now, body language things that we're looking for would be licking their lips. These are all stress signals. So licking their lips, yawning, excessive sniffing, scratching themselves. And then there's the main ones too that most people can see when their dog is feeling anxious, which is stiffened body, ears are up, maybe panting and pacing, or the barking, lunging, and freaking out, the usual ones that we could obviously see. If your dog is showing any of that, that means that the volume is too high and it's too stressful for your dog, and we need to make it easier for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is applicable to like most things. Like when we're talking about this is for like noise desensitization. So maybe they're not scared of fireworks per se. What are some things you've seen that you've desensitized for that dogs might be
so
triggered
another
by?
one can be knocking at the door. When people come over, knocking your door to come in house. Lots of dogs bark at that. So that's another one you can get them used to. Other dogs barking. If you go on YouTube, there's like a whole playlist of dog desensitization videos for sound. So like fireworks, cars, skateboards, dogs barking, so many things.
I'm trying to think of like the niche things. Neighbors
Somebody has
having
capital-
argument.
Somebody has capitalized on this business and is killing it on YouTube.
Congrats
Congrats to
people
them.
who recorded noises.
Yeah.
It's like when I listen to bird sounds on Spotify or something, I'm like, wow, we're really stealing from the birds here, huh?
Yeah, the birds are not getting paid for this.
How long does something like this take?
Again, it depends. That's like the answer for everything in dog training, right? It's such a gray area. It's never black and white with dog training. It depends on how strong your dog's feeling is towards the sound already, how quickly you push them through it. So oftentimes when our dogs are doing really well at something, we're like, yes, we're making such good progress. We're going to make it a little bit harder. And we push them too far, right? Whenever we're training something new, first off, we want to do it in the easiest environment possible, which is usually our house, which is why it's great to do this inside the house with YouTube on your TV or whatever, on your phone even. We also want to keep the sessions short and sweet. And that's with everything. If you think about us as humans, like when you're learning something new, around that 45-minute mark to 50-minute mark, you're exhausted, your brain is tired, and you're either getting frustrated or you're not learning at your peak capacity. And dogs are the same. Studies have shown that shorter, better practice sessions with dogs help them learn more. So doing 5 minutes of this, not even daily, like a few times a week, would be great. Again, it's going to depend on your dog of how long it takes to desensitize. Some dogs are going to go through it really quickly. Other dogs, you might be working at it for a year. So unfortunately, I can't give a black and white answer of how long it's going to take you. But one of my biggest recommendations to anyone hearing this would be, if you have a new puppy and you have a dog who doesn't have any triggers, don't work on obedience right away. Work on this kind of stuff, because this is all stuff that's socialization. That's not just meeting other dogs or whatever. This is getting your dog used to the world and how to have a dog who's neutral in many varying environments. This is most important than obedience. I can teach a dog sit, stay any day. Doesn't matter what age. This kind of stuff is so much easier to do when they're young and impressionable, because they have sponges for brains at this point. Obviously, we want to help our dogs be less stressed in every situation possible. And if your dog already has strong feelings towards something, please work on this as well. But just know it's going to take a little bit longer if your dog already has strong feelings towards something.
So let's say someone is finding this video the day before New Year's or the day before 4th of July. They're not going to be able to do that desensitization training.
No.
It takes a while. So what advice do you have for the actual night of whether or not you've been doing this training?
Especially if we already know our dogs are going to be stressed during this event, call your vet ahead of time. Please mention to your vet, my dog is stressed during these events. And 99% of the time, if you have a good vet, they're going to be able to give you situational meds for behaviors. Now, I'm not a vet. I'm not a vet behaviorist. I don't have that training in medication, and I can't tell my clients, ask your vet for this medication. I can imply to them and say, it's a good idea to ask your vet about medications, and that is what I do. And most times people get the meds that I'm hoping that they get. So something like trazodone is really great. It's a situational med that's going to help your dog chill out. It's nice to have medication trialed before we actually use it, in case your dog has any adverse reactions, right? So in hearing this, don't just go to your vet and be like, I want trazodone, and hope for the best.
For example, Agnes, we tried several of these situational meds with her, and she has what is called a paradoxical effect, which means rather than Xanax or something similar calming her down the way it's supposed to, it revs her up and makes her more fucked up. So definitely test them first. I think there's another conversation to have with more time and like specificity about drugs and situational drugs. If
Yeah.
you're but some people might be watching this and not be so into drugs. And again, it's like that's a conversation for another time. So if someone is not really thrilled about giving their dog medicine, what are some other effective day of tactics?
Yes. First off, not everybody's going to be into giving their dogs medication, which I totally understand. It's a personal choice, and I get it. I mean, also, maybe your dogs just don't react well to medication, and that's not an option for you. So doing things like enrichment. Now, when we talk about enrichment, it's like a huge blanket statement, but essentially enrichment is your dog doing dog things that makes them feel better.
Yeah.
So things like I was talking about earlier, like sniffing is really good for them. So whether you're giving them a snuffle mat or like hiding a toy around the house or treats around the house and getting them to sniff them out and find them, that's really beneficial for your dog. It also just gives them something to do and engaging with you. With a snuffle mat, you don't have to go out and buy a $50 snuffle mat that you saw online. You can literally just take an old towel, throw some kibble or treats in there, roll it up, and let your dog sniff it out and find it.
I recently blew a friend's mind. I saw an empty Amazon box at their house when I was watching their dog, and I was like, oh, can I use this for a sniff toy? And they're like, yeah, whatever. And blew their mind that I could just take a bunch of crumpled up pieces of paper and put it into a box and throw treats in there. And it was all of a sudden the most like exciting game to their dog.
Easy. Yeah, enrichment doesn't have to be like super fancy toys that like you got to go drop hundreds of dollars on because you saw someone else online using it, or like when you Googled enrichment, that's what you found. Make it easy. You have an old cardboard box, put some treats in there, close it up, let your dog go to town. My dog Basil personally loves shredding, so he doesn't eat the cardboard, so I just give him a cardboard box and he will shred it to pieces. If your dog does eat the cardboard, other options are like romaine, lettuce, cabbage, so that they can still eat it, and you don't have to wash them too carefully. But yeah, any games where they're doing sniffing, chewing, shredding, licking, so using a lick mat or something like that, those are all things that are going to be calming for your dog and helpful. So if you're not into meds or even coupled with medication, these are all things that are great to do. Okay, so say it's the day before, you're like, oh shit, 4th of July is coming up, fireworks, I'm not prepared, haven't tried meds, I haven't desensitized my dog to loud noises, what the F am I going to do? My biggest advice is day before, long line decompression walk for your dog, where they're not going to say, if your dog has any triggers, reactive to other dogs, people, whatever, get away from those people. You want to have a walk where your dog can just be on a long line or off leash if safe and able to just be a dog. So sniffing, doing dog things, doing their favorite things, because these are all things that are going to help them decompress. And doing it the day before means they're going to feel good the next day as well. Sniffing, as you know, is really great for dogs. It helps lower their cortisol levels and lower their heart rate. Then it helps them view the world around them. So most important things here are the cortisol and the heart rate. So we're lowering those things first so that we're going in the next day feeling ready. The day of, having some kind of noise happening already before the event starts. So whether you're watching TV loud in your house or you have sound on is going to be the best, because then there's, like I said, we're blocking outside noise and minimizing it a little bit. And if you know that your dog is anxious around these sounds, please try to be home with your dog that night, because they're going to want to seek comfort and they're going to want to be around their people and feel safe. It's going to make it easier for them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Being home, I know from experience, it's extremely hard to like watch your dog scared and having a big reaction to these things. If you're in the middle of it and the dog is hearing the fireworks and you're seeing them have these, really horrible reactions, what do you recommend a pet owner does? Because I've heard, there's certain people who say don't say like it's okay, because that'll teach them that saying it's okay, they'll start associating it with the fireworks. Is there anything pet owners should avoid or do to help the soothing process if, everything else has failed to that point?
Yeah, so if your dog has a safe space set up already, so like somewhere where they can relax, letting them go there and you can be with them and you don't have to touch them or talk to them, but just being near them is really helpful. Dogs are social beings. They like to be around their people, or even like your other dogs if you have other dogs as well. But being in a dark room with them, so minimizing the amount of stimulation that they're getting. You can have nice music on at the same time. And then I would also look into the 5-second rule. So if your dog is asking you for pets and asking you to console them, then please do so. But use the 5-second rule, which is essentially petting your dog, talking to your dog. And when we're petting our dogs in this situation, we want to do long sweeping strokes down the back along the spine towards the tail, because that's really calming for the nervous system. But then looking at your dog's body language. So if they are showing any reservation with you petting them, or showing any stress signals, whether that's licking their lips a lot or the whale eye or trying to get away from you essentially, then we want to stop petting them because we might be overstimulating them as well. Now, if you stop petting your dog and they look at you and they lean into you, they're probably enjoying it and it's helping them. So keep petting them. But I would do the 5-second rule, because think about like when we're anxious, sometimes like, yeah, cuddling is great and being with the people we love is great. And other times I don't want anybody to touch me and I don't want to be acknowledged.
This is so helpful. You're so smart.
Thank you.
You really are. Will you talk a little bit about the thunder shirts, Adaptil, and CBD? Do you have opinions on those? And if you want to just go one by one.
For CBD, again, not a vet. I don't have training in medication. Not a dog nutritionist either. So this is all anecdotal and based on what I know. Some people find it helps. Some people find it doesn't help. And I don't know enough about the research to make an educated comment about whether it helps your dog or not. But if you find that it helps your dog, great. If you find that it doesn't, okay, don't use it then. Is it worth a shot? Maybe, sure. With the Adaptil collars, it's kind of the same thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Is it worth a shot? Maybe. Like, you can try it. If it works for your dog, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. So the Adaptil collars are supposedly calming collars for your dog. So I think it's supposed to be like pheromones or something like that come off.
Right.
That's supposed to calm your dog. I think they also have plugins, like, you know, like those Glade plugins with the scents. It's like that, but it's like Adaptil for your house. Again, I've had some clients who have had success with the Adaptil stuff and some who said it didn't do anything. So is it harmful for your dog? I don't think so. Again, I don't know enough about them to talk about whether it's harmful or not. Is it worth trying if it's not harmful? Sure. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Thunder shirts, what I know about the thunder shirts is, right, it's supposed to be a wrap that goes around your dog that supposed to be a little bit heavier, so it's supposed to make them feel calm and safe. I personally don't think that this works, because I think really what it does is your dog might shut down a little bit instead. So it's something that they're not used to. It's a weight on their body, and you perceive them as them feeling calm when really they're not sure how to feel about this thing on their body that they're not used to. So they might be more shut down. Again, this is what my experience has been with them with clients. Maybe some people do find that they work, but what I would say if you're going to try a thunder shirt is, again, just watch your dog's body language. Like, are they feeling more calm and secure, or are they showing stress signals and maybe just being more shut down?
Yeah, and the thing I've always heard about thunder shirts too is, like, just like the medication, don't wait until the night of to try it. And also, I just remember people telling me when we first tried one, don't only bring it out during stressful events, because it will probably wind up having that opposite
exactly
reaction.
Right. So, like, as we talked about before, dogs learn by association. So if we only do something during a stressful event, your dog picks up on that and they're like, okay, shit, something stressful is about to happen because you're pulling out this thing, or we're doing this exercise together. So doing things before you need them, right?
Right, exactly. And then also potentially using that to your advantage, which you might start using the thunder shirt, and every time the thunder shirt comes out, the dog's getting its like favorite treat. And so, you know, we can't prove that it's the thunder shirt itself that's helping, but maybe if they know they're wearing that, they have the association with the good thing, so it might
absolutely
help
right
minimize.
So like maybe it's not helping with their stress, but maybe it's helping them be more at ease with whatever you're about to do with them, rather than like, okay, stressful things happening, let's do all this enrichment, and they're like, I'm stressed, but I'm also trying to do this game.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking about those. Yeah, it's funny. Those are the kinds of things where I feel like you never know what actually works where it's like
Yeah, exactly.
what is placebo and what is
Totally,
actually
right? And I
happening.
think like it's easy to be like, okay, well, I can just buy this thing and hopefully it helps, but it's always more than that, right? And like if it helps, it helps. Great, that's awesome. And I mean, now talking about this, I really need to look more into like the research behind them and see if there is anything like actually backing them up because now I'm curious.
Let me know if you find anything
Yeah,
good
will
or
do.
conclusive besides what we've already talked about. Like any safety tips for the night of, for a big fireworks event, like anything you want to warn listeners about or just have people be careful of.
If you have a secure yard or a secure area where you take your dog out into, have them on a leash just in case. Chances are nothing's going to happen, but there are lots of stories about people having their dogs bolt during fireworks, which is stressful for you and stressful for your dog and just makes the whole evening so much worse.
With that, to probably make sure their collar is on. They have their ID with them.
Yeah, exactly. They can get into the bars if they need to.
Yeah. How cute she is.
Not that cute.
What the fuck's wrong with you? Such a great conversation. Thank you again to Cailin. You can find her stuff at Pup to Date Dogs all over socials. Also, thank you to Jamie and to Scott for your conversations. I think I kind of learned something.
And thank you to Agnes for being a good girl. She is alive. And thank you to you for knowing our dog's name and not using it to guess all of our passwords.
Now I'm going to have to change our passwords.
Yeah, you are going to have to change some passwords.
If you have any topics that you want us to cover in future episodes, please put them down below. It takes a village.
Did you know some cats don't like fireworks too? Yeah. How's that, cat people?
If you loved the episode, share it with everybody you know. If you hated the episode, share it with everybody you know.
No.
And truly let us know your opinions on all the things we talked about because there's a lot to unpack here and I don't think we have figured it all out. So
Yeah, like, subscribe, share, comment, or the dog gets it.
oh, and get in the Discord and talk about it because that's a good
The
place
Discord.
to discuss things with us.
8 miles high.
8 miles high.
My Fucked Up Dog is brought to you by Jet Milk Productions. The incredible intro was created and recorded by Liam Sr. with animation by Dylan Farr.